The case of a missing woman due to give birth to a baby boy any day has taken a tragic turn after her body was discovered in the woods of northern Michigan. But the baby was nowhere to be found, and the shocking developments continued as some of her own family members were taken into custody. It is a story that has gripped true crime sleuths across social media, but what are the facts and what is speculation? We are getting to the bottom of it all right now. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Look, as we're covering this, I will tell you, staying on top of the news is so important, but with all the media bias these days, who knows what to believe? That is why I want to introduce you to our sponsor, Straight Hour News. Straight Hour News is a personalized news platform that gives readers fact-based journalism to inform and build trust. Its Media Mist tool shows readers headlines that are not seen in mainstream outlets, providing useful commentary that cuts through all that sensational spin. Their site and app also points out all the bias with their media landscape tool to group sources by political leaning for full transparency. So if you're ready for a better way to get the news, go to san.com/sidebar or just click the link in my description. This is Straight Hour News. Skip the drama, get the facts. Welcome back to trustworthy journalism. When Rebecca Park was reported missing on November 4th, her family says she was 38 or 39 weeks pregnant and she could go into labor anytime. As the weeks went by with no word from her and without her showing up at any local hospitals with a baby or to give birth, rumors started swirling about what might have happened to her. 22-year-old Rebecca was last seen on November 3rd at her mother's home in Boone Township. This is according to Wexford County investigators. She apparently got into the passenger side of a car outside the home. And once the sheriff's office knew she was missing, they started doing searches on foot, also with canine teams, a drone. This is according to news outlet Michigan Live. There was also apparently volunteer search groups that were not affiliated with law enforcement. They were out searching for Rebecca. And on November 12th, so this is 8 days after Rebecca was reported missing, police issued a public announcement for her to contact them, hoping that maybe she was scared and hiding out. The sheriff's message assured Rebecca that she wasn't in any kind of trouble. This was according to Michigan Live. But there was still no sign of the mom-to-be. Rebecca's phone was found on a dirt road near her mom's house where she was last seen. And police also said she might have had $2,000 cash on her as part of an inheritance from a recently deceased family member. And Michigan Live reports that law enforcement had to push back on all of these rumors and speculation that was rampant online, with people both local to the rural area and outsiders making these connections or theories that really had no basis in fact. They were instead based on small-town gossip. In fact, the sheriff indicated, according to Michigan Live, that all of that misinformation was hampering the search for Rebecca. Then you go to Tuesday, November 25th. This is after being missing for weeks. The sheriff announced that a female body resembling Rebecca was found in the Manistee National Forest. Authorities wouldn't confirm her identity until after an autopsy was performed. According to Michigan Live's reporting, the area where she had been found had already been searched at least once. The sheriff wouldn't comment on whether her body may have been moved, and it's our understanding from the sheriff, he says, that it was citizens who found the body, not law enforcement. In fact, when it came to questions from reporters during that news conference, Sheriff Trent Taylor, as well as the Michigan State Police, didn't really have much to say.
We can't answer that.
Yeah, no comment on that. I don't have any comment on that at this time.
And those are details, again, that we can't comment on at this time, but hoping in the future that we can comment on that.
Yeah.
Officials would later confirm that that body was in fact Rebecca. But there's a caveat. Her baby was not with her when she was found, and a search for the infant was underway. Now, details about how the baby may have been taken, they were not provided, and by the way, neither was Rebecca's cause of death. That has not been released. Wexford County Sheriff Taylor said, quote, "The Wexford County Sheriff's Office, along with multiple law enforcement agencies, is working diligently to determine the condition and potential whereabouts of the baby. Because this is an active and ongoing investigation, the information that can be released is extremely limited at this time." Now, all this is going on, we have an unexpected twist. The very next day after Rebecca's body was found in the woods, 2 of Rebecca's loved ones were arrested and arraigned in court. Rebecca's fiancé, Richard Fowler, and her sister, Kimberly Park. Now, to be clear, We cannot confirm if the charges that they currently face are actually related to Rebecca's death, okay? Richard Fowler was arraigned on 2 counts of delivery, manufacture of a controlled substance, and for being a habitual offender. Fowler, who's 43, is also a registered sex offender, and his bond was set at a very high number. We're talking $1 million. Prosecutors say he's a flight risk. Now, Kimberly Park was arraigned on charges of tampering with evidence, lying to police, and a false report of a felony. Again, it's unclear if that is in connection with Rebecca's case or something else. Her bond was set at $750,000, quite high as well. Now, at last check, both are still behind bars. If they do make bail, they're going to be required to wear GPS monitors. But we got to talk about what this all means. Okay, so to help us break down the significance of these arrests, what's maybe going on behind the scenes in this investigation, why certain details are not being revealed, what maybe happened to this baby, I want to bring on retired NYPD detective Dave Sarni. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time. It's good to see you. I want to start with these arrests because authorities haven't confirmed whether or not these charges are connected to the death investigation. It would be maybe a coincidence if they weren't. What are your initial impressions?
Well, thank you for having me. But this investigation has grown really big, and I think what happened is when you look at the disappearance and the last person that you see or states that she saw her last was the mother, and her story about the dark van coming in, she just got in this car and left. I don't know whatever information that she gave to the investigators at the time, but you work off of that story, and the phone being recovered nearby the house, and family that seems to be it seems to be a lot of speculation now. And that's one thing about these cases, you don't want to give everything out to the public, because what happens is it taints the investigation. You know, the court of public opinion is one thing, but the courts, when you want to put this case to trial, and right now you have a missing that is now turned up dead. There's a baby that she was supposed to have given birth to, a boy, is not there. So you have to kind of backtrack to where the body's located and to the mom. Speak to the mom, and you speak to her several times, and then try to talk. And they've spoken obviously to the boyfriend, they've spoken to the daughter, and those stories are either not jibing up according to what this investigation is going, because now you have the boyfriend being locked up in unrelated charges right now. He's dealing with the meth charges, and this is one part of it. It's the daughter now tampering with evidence, lying to the police, and you have the parents now arrested. So this is really it's going into some really dark territory when you think of how families are. I mean, this is, you report her missing, but reality is I don't think she was ever missing in the first place.
Yeah, I want to get to that later development in a minute, but focusing on this fiance and the sister, it is unusual to say the least. You mentioned a lack of details being released to the public. Why not release the cause of death at this point? Is it because, how could that jeopardize the investigation? And you have to wonder whether or not the cause of death is somehow related to the baby, right? Where is that baby? Did she die under circumstances where that baby was extracted or removed? I mean, that's where my thoughts went. But I wonder, what's the reason to not release the cause of death?
Well, depending on how the state of the condition of the body that they located, it was outside. You don't know what postmortem artifacts took place. Is the body been tampered with on one end, but we're talking about natural environmental issues, cold rain, animals, natural decomposition. So they may not have an absolute cause of death or manner of death right now. So they just have right now they know the body's deceased. It's now no longer a missing persons case. It's a death investigation, an investigate DOA. And they may not have the answers right now with this case. And that's understandable, because it takes time. Because just because you have a body doesn't necessarily know what happened to the body. So that autopsy is taking place. And even if they do know the cause of death, you wouldn't want to release it out to the public anyway, because are there other people involved in her death other than the people there now, which is the family and the boyfriend? Are there others involved in this? So, you later rest the fact that she's no longer missing. And that's good for the investigation on that end. But let the investigation run its course. And I always tell people, when it comes to these things, you don't want the public to know everything. If they do, then you have all of these, these internet sleuths. You have all of these situations come up. And if things go the wrong track, then now that becomes a problem in a trial, because you said we had A, but now you're saying it's B. Why did that happen?
Right.
And we don't want to, these investigations, you want to do them right, and you want to make sure everything is done the proper way. And you can't tell everyone in the public what you're doing, because if you do, it taints the investigation and further investigations in the cases like.
Dave, I have to ask you a question I don't want to ask, but I have to. In your experience, do you think this baby's alive? Right? Because putting aside the circumstances with which this baby was born, you need resources to care for a baby. And at the same token, if you think the worst and you think something happened to this baby and someone disposed of this baby, there might be evidence of that. And it might be difficult, right, to hide evidence of what happened to this baby. What are you thinking about here?
Well, I really think it depends on the condition of the decedent. When they say they found the body with no baby in it, it depends on the state of the body. Was that baby birthed outside? And this is the one thing we know. Apparently, she was very close to term, and she disappears around that time. That's a little scary, given the fact what may have happened. And you do a boyfriend who's 46 years old, who's a user of drugs, meth, crystal meth and the like, being arrested for that. Do I believe, and this is speculation again, has that baby been already trafficked out? That's something you have to consider, and that's why.
When you say that, what do you mean exactly?
I think I think they had her birth. I think they made an agreement, and this is again speculation, and this is something another angle you look at. Was this baby given to another family or given to somebody at whatever reason as payment, whatever it is? Because it depends on the condition of the body, and that's why the medical exam, the coroner, is going to look and seeing if this baby was birthed. She was close to term. She leaves the day, she apparently, like about a day or so after or before, during that time when she's dilating, she disappears. She had $2,000 on her apparently. She leaves the scene around that time, and she's gone. And then they make the report, because the family knew where she was. The family knew what happened. Was this an agreement? Again, speculation as always. It's innocent until guilty. Was there an agreement to have this baby given or sold to somebody? And that's why the condition of the body is important to find that out.
So why not release more information about that to the public, so the public's at least aware about what might have happened? Because let me just tell you something that was interesting. The sheriff said during a press conference that it was citizens who actually found her body. It was not law enforcement. It makes you wonder, why were they researching that particular area that had already been searched? But you think about this community, think about people who might know them. Again, I don't know, why not release more information?
Because these are angles you look at. They don't know. Right now, you have a 22-year-old female who is deceased, found in the woods, with apparently supposed to be pregnant with no baby, and you don't want to throw those angles out there. And that's why it's all speculation. Could the baby have been born deceased? Could there be something else that has happened to this baby? That's why the investigation is going that way. If you put things out into the ether, into the internet world, and into the media, then we don't want the media to change anything, because now you don't want to stick to one story. Because right now, as investigators go, and as an investigation, and I've done these, you have to be unbiased. You're taking the facts as you have them. These are things you'll maybe questions they're bringing out to themselves, but it's not solid. So you don't want to put it out there. And that's why they're not saying anything. As a speculation, if that's why if that body, and she was close to term, if that body shows from the ME that she gave birth to that baby, where did she give birth to that baby? Right. And that's why all the social media, anything that these individuals had contact, which means their cell phone records, cell sites, all these things are being looked at to see if there was some sort of, darker side to just her missing and the baby missing. Was there maybe a plan in place to have this happen? And the boyfriend's 46 years, 20, almost a quarter century older than this girl, and the mom and the dad. This is something that's really, the daughter's involved. You don't think the worst, but that's why you let the facts lead you. The totality of circumstances will lead you to what happened. Will they find the baby? And the thing is, if the baby was born to term, that's why the ME and the coroners are doing their due diligence to make sure that's what happened or not.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you this, in another maybe unexpected move, the judge in this case decided during a live stream of the arraignments that there would be no more live streaming.
Please state your name for the record.
Kimberly Park.
Ladies and gentlemen, both here in the courtroom, for the media, and those on live stream, the court has an ethical duty to make sure that the defendants in these cases are able to obtain a fair trial. The court is well aware of the publicity that this case has received across the country and perhaps around the world. So in order to protect the defendant's interests in this case, the court is going to take the courtroom off of live stream, and we will only deal with what is here in the courtroom. I'm also ordering that any media present not live stream the proceedings. The court has no way to protect that anything that is being live streamed is not out there for perpetuity. So for those reasons, I'm not authorizing you to live stream. You can record and cut and paste and put a story together, but I am not authorizing a live stream.
Well, disappointing to members of the public who want to find out the latest on the case, the court is protecting itself, the defendants, from problems down the road. I can understand that. I'm one who always wants more transparency in terms of, particularly if you need the public's help for more information and ongoing investigation. But also, I think it's good for the public to understand our justice system and how it works. Your thoughts on something like this?
Yeah, that's why I always try when I teach at John Jay College and I try to work my kids or walk my kids through the trial process. This is an arraignment. This arraignment is going to where the people involved get notified of the charges against them. And the judge is using his discretion, rightfully so this case doesn't get overturned or there's appeal based on what he does during the arraignment process or during the entire trial process. So you do everything according to plan. You do it the right way. We have to understand that one of the major tenets of the criminal justice system in America is you are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. They've been arrested based on probable cause. They're being notified of the official charges against them. The bail has been set for both the sister and the boyfriend. The parents have been arrested. They haven't released those charges yet. That'll happen at arraignment regardless. They may release it by media or not. It may just come in arraignment, but it's to keep the trial done the right way. We don't want to see cases turned on appeal based on things that we could have controlled at the time. And I think the judge is doing the right thing. Regardless of what the public wants, this is the criminal justice system in America. And you want to make sure everybody has a right to due process, a right to fair trial.
Now, when it comes to Kimberly, let's talk about this. She apparently had an active presence on social media when it came to the search for Rebecca. Okay, so on November 13th, Kimberly apparently tagged her sister in a post saying, "Sissy, please come home. I miss you. I need you. Sis, you were driving me stir crazy." And then there were 15 crying emojis. Nearly 2 weeks later, when it was believed that Rebecca was the woman whose body had been found, Kimberly posted, "My sissy was found. I'm breaking so bad. I'm sorry, sis. I'm sorry that I failed you. I love you, sis." Now, Dave, what do you make of these social media statements? Because again, we don't really know exactly what this sister was arrested for in connection with anything. But to make a public plea like this, to make public statements like this, thoughts?
Again, this is what you take into account, what her emojis are, the time, and they're going to look in the social media, what times they're posted and all the like. Can this be a setup? Possible. You want to look at everything, every angle with this. She's been arrested, nothing to deal with the death of her sister, just filing a false police report, tampering with evidence, and lying to the police, which, those things come into play. So, and we don't know as to what the lies were, what the false report was, and we don't know what the physical evidence is. So is it a fact? These are things. Could she have remorse? Could she actually be feeling these things? We don't know. And that's why she's been arrested for those felony charges. And that's one thing. They're felonies in Michigan. In New York City, in New York State, for the most part, they're misdemeanors. They'd be right out anyway. So they also believe she's a threat to leave. So they put a high bail on her. I mean, that's something that tells you that there's more to this story than what the media and the public know. And that's why you're getting that. And that's why the prosecutor and the police are working together in conjunction to make sure that the people that are involved, speculating now, because they're not even charged with anything toward the disappearance, they're charged on separate types of things. But we really don't know what the final false report is. So that will come out as this, motions will be with the defense attorneys and the like, but they keep them in with those felony charges so they can work this case. So they don't are major players in the boyfriend. Oh, you always look at the boyfriends and the family relationship and the mom. Mom is the last one who saw him. That's basically, she's the last one who saw her daughter. That's a key. What did she tell her daughters? What did she tell her other daughter? What did she say? Those are things coming to play. So that's why when they've been picked up, both have been arrested. They haven't put the charges out yet, but it may be close to the reason why the disappearance took place.
Now I want to talk about something else. You mentioned it before. This next part, it's a bit of speculation that's been spreading like wildfire on social media. So I do want to preface that most of this information has not been confirmed by law enforcement. The sheriff has limited the information that can be released to the media, as we've been talking about. So these are details that have been gathered from various sources, and you're going to see why police say all this is making their job a lot harder. So according to WPBN, this is a Northern Michigan outlet, Rebecca was adopted, and her adoptive mother, Stephanie Park, spoke to 9 and 10 News saying, "We have been silent because we do care. We wanted her found. We did not want to push anybody that would be involved in this way so that she would be able to be found. I never suspected her as running away with the baby. So we have been preparing ourselves for this outcome." Stephanie also told the outlet, apparently, she had some mental illnesses and some troubles. She was a loving person, but she had her problems. She deserves to be remembered as the sweet girl that she was when she was younger. Now, 9 and 10 News reports that Rebecca's 2 other sons, ages 3.5 and 2, they're in her care, as is Kimberly's 1-year-old daughter. And according to reporting from true crime sleuths that have been looking into this case, Rebecca had recently reunited with her biological mom, a woman named Courtney Bartholomew. Over the weekend, there were rumors that Courtney and her husband, Bradley Bartholomew, had also been arrested. And as of this reporting, as of this taping, Michigan Live has confirmed that the two were in fact in the Wexford County Jail. Their charges, not clear. There are reports that the Bartholomew home was searched, that there was DNA that was collected. At least one truck was also reportedly towed from the home. But again, the sheriff isn't providing a lot of details here. The sheriff's office said in a release, "We understand the public's desire for details and their demand for justice for Rebecca and her baby. We ask for your patience and understanding as we continue to seek answers for this tragic situation." Dave, revisiting this with you, so much of the content creation space is taken up by true crime sleuths, trying to make connections that may be there, maybe not there. I have to imagine this may complicate law enforcement's mission here and their investigation.
It does complicate it, but you know what? You look at things, and I will say this, sometimes there are tips that come in, and that's what the police do. Is there a tip that comes out of there? Does anything jibe with what's being said on the internet? We don't worry about that. We stick to the facts as we see them. And that's the one thing about these investigations. You can speculate all you want, and that's what a lot of it we do here, speculate, but you still have the facts available to you. You have a missing baby, a dead child, a dead 22-year-old, dead 22-year-old. We don't know where the baby is. Let's see where the baby has gone to. And so how you do it is you're going to do another grid search of that location. Is there a possibility that the body is there? And if not, and that's why speaking to the medical examiner, was this baby birthed? Was she birthed out? And this is where all of those weird things come into play. Last person that sees this says, "Oh, I saw her getting into a dark sedan, and she gets in the car, and I didn't know what to say to her." It didn't jibe, I guarantee the investigators, and they further investigated her. They further spoke to her to find that out. And that's why you're seeing this come into play with the arrest there. So there's something there that the police aren't telling, but that's okay. And I always want to err on the side of caution. And the caution is, don't tell everybody everything you're doing.
What do you think is happening behind the scenes? What do you think we're not seeing?
You're going to be running their media. You're going to be running all of the social media. You're going to do cell sites. You're going to start doing all that. Any DNA collection that you have, obviously from the body, they've done that. Obviously from the scene itself, they've done that scene. Is there any items there that might be trace evidence of forensically viable for this case? So those are things that are being done that you're not going to see. That's kind of the not the unsexy version of what investigators are. Everyone wants them in the interrogation room and yelling back and forth. That may be happening too, and we don't know that. But right now, they've been arrested. They're going to retain counsel. I don't think anyone's going to be speaking unless they are the weak link. And I think investigators are going to try to find who's the weakest link and who would want to deal out if this is the situation that comes into play. And that's the whole thing. Who has the most to lose? And it's the boyfriend, because he now has 2 felonies on him that's going to be life imprisonment. Is there something that he may leak out in maybe what's called a queen for a day and a proffer, where they may speak to him later on? But you need the facts before you can put people in that situation. So everyone has to sort of take their time in this. It's a horrendous case. It's a tragedy to see this happening, and especially with a girl who's been pregnant, about to at term with no baby. So is this something that one person knows, or do 3 or 4 people know what happened, and maybe even more?
Dave Sarni, thanks for taking the time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Stay safe.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.